The first disappearance happened on a night when the moon refused to show its face. Little Kisii, barely 6 years old, had been tucked safely into her bed just hours before. But when her mother woke to the sound of faint giggling drifting through the banana trees, she knew with a mother's terrible instinct where to look. By dawn, the entire village stood gathered around the ancient well, their lanterns casting flickering shadows on the weathered stones. Kisie's favorite doll floated serenely in the black water, its porcelain face cracked into a grin, far too knowing for a child's toy. His was how they learned the truth. The well was no longer just a source of water, but something far more sinister. Generations had drawn from this well without incident, until that fateful year of 1923, when the blessings began. Crops grew unnaturally abundant, bursting from the earth with almost obscene fertility. The sick rose from their deathbeds with no explanation, their fevers broken as if by some invisible hand. But with these miracles came the whispers in the night, the sound of something moving just beneath the water's surface. And always, every few months, another child would vanish without a trace, their footprints leading unerringly to the well's dark maw before disappearing entirely. When the British colonial officials arrived 5 years later, they dismissed the villagers' fears as primitive superstition. District Officer Charles Pembroke, a man of science and reason, ordered his men to measure the well's depth, convinced this would put the nonsense to rest. They lowered rope after rope, each carefully weighted and marked, but after 3 days of continuous effort, they still hadn't found bottom. On the fourth morning, the men hauled up the ropes to find them chewed through, the frayed ends glistening with a thick, foul-smelling slime that none could identify. Pembroke, ever the skeptic, pushed his men aside to peer into the depths himself. Witnesses would later swear the water's surface rippled in response to his gaze, forming shapes that looked disturbingly like grasping hands. That evening, Pembroke locked himself in his study and put a bullet through his temple. His final journal entry spoke of something watching through the water, learning their faces with terrible patience. The years passed, and the well continued its grim harvest. Of the 63 children taken since that first disappearance in 1923, only 11 ever returned. Little Weramu came back after 3 years missing, her family overjoyed at first, until they noticed the changes. She never blinked. Her skin stayed perpetually damp, no matter how long she sat in the sun. And sometimes, when she thought no one was looking, her mouth would stretch into a smile, just a little too wide for her small face. The final horror came when neighbors found her kneeling by the well at dawn, whispering to the black water in a language no linguist could identify. When they pulled her away, thick black liquid poured from her mouth in a ceaseless stream. By sunset, she was gone again, leaving behind only wet footprints that led straight to the well before vanishing at the water's edge. In 2021, the well claimed its most public victims yet. A group of thrill-seeking influencers from Nairobi came to film a haunted well challenge, their smartphones broadcasting every moment to thousands of eager viewers. The live stream showed them daring each other to drink from the well at midnight, their laughter growing increasingly nervous as strange phenomena began. The water in their glasses swirled against gravity. One girl's reflection blinked when she didn't. Then the audio picked up a sound like hundreds of whispering voices rising from the depths, growing louder until the screams began. The stream cut out abruptly as something unseen grabbed the camera from below. Search teams found their equipment stacked neatly by the well's edge days later, and memory cards hopelessly corrupted except for one final, chilling frame. Dozens of pale faces staring up through the water's surface, their mouths stretched in identical welcoming smiles. Scientists from the University of Nairobi conducted the most thorough investigation in 2015, determined to uncover rational explanations. What they found only deepened the mystery. Their instruments confirmed the well extended at least 500 meters down, far deeper than any natural aquifer in the region. The stone walls, instead of being rough and uneven, spiraled downward in smooth, almost polished curves that defy geological explanation. At the 300-meter mark, their waterproof cameras recorded something massive moving in the darkness below, the vague outline of segmented limbs brushing against the stone, before the camera housing was crushed by an unseen force. The lead researcher, a noted skeptic with decades of experience, quit the field entirely after suffering vivid nightmares of the beautiful city below, waking each night at 3:17 a.m. with the taste of brackish water in his mouth. Today, the village maintains an uneasy truce with the well. Every new moon, the elders leave carefully prepared offerings at its rim, fresh milk in calabashes that always come back empty, prime cuts of meat that vanish without a trace. In particularly bad years, when the disappearances increase, they might add a lock of hair or a drop of blood. This isn't worship, not truly. It's distraction, a way to keep the well's attention elsewhere. Because when the gifts stop, when the rituals are forgotten, the well remembers its hunger, and the children start vanishing again. Some claim the well is merely a natural anomaly, a geological oddity that has become wrapped in superstition. Others whisper it's a doorway to somewhere else, a thin place between worlds. The villagers, who have lived with its presence for generations, know the terrible truth in their bones. The well is alive. It watches. It learns. Every face that peers into its dark waters becomes another meal remembered. Every ripple on its surface hides something looking back. Every missing child teaches it to want more, to reach further. Would you dare to visit Kisii? To stand before that ancient stone rim? Could you resist the urge to lean just a little too far over the edge? To drop a pebble and listen for the splash that never comes? Do you truly believe all those disappearances were accidents? All those blessings mere coincidence? The water remembers every face it has ever seen, every voice that has ever called into its depths. And it's always waiting, always hungry, for the next curious soul to come calling. Subscribe now for more terrifying true stories, delivered straight to your inbox every Friday at 3:17 a.m. Share this tale if you dare, but beware, the well might be watching you read this right now. Tag someone who needs to see this before the water learns their name too. Sleep tight tonight, but leave your curtains closed. And whatever you do, don't listen too closely to the sound of dripping water in the dark. The well has a long memory and an even longer reach.